Hey everybody, it's Gary Lucas, and I'm coming to you on Thursday. It is Thursday. What is today, man? I'm losing track of time. Tuesday? No. Some point on the 12th of December. Isn't it funny how time has collapsed upon itself? Really, yeah, I think it is Tuesday, actually. So, anyway, it's been a wild week. It's been a wild year, has it not? And it ain't over by long chalk, as they say. But I don't know. And just ungluing myself from the TV, I then dive into online journalism of all sorts. I always try and get like a measure of varied opinions to make my own judgment calls on these things. But the latest communication from Trump on his way down to his wall that he's so proud about, his sort of wall that never really got built, was puzzling to me. And so far, he said this riot had nothing to do with me, basically. So, yeah, it's Black Lives Matter fault, etc., etc. It's just incredible. There's a play by Luigi Pirandello that I love very much called "It Is So If You Think It's So." And that basically, I think, accounts for the strange mass hypnosis that have come over many people, certainly many supporters of Donald J. Trump, in terms of what they believe, and despite all evidence to the contrary, refuse to shake their beliefs or modify them. They're true believers in their heart. And it's more than sad, it's scary. But anyway, we just have to keep our lamps trimmed and burning, as Blind Willie Johnson said in one of his greatest spirituals, and be vigilant. And well, anyway, let me entertain you. That was an instrumental version of After Strange Gods, which is the first clip that was kind of made by a friend and a fan down in Australia, Mr. Paul Ryan, who goes under the name 3AAA or AAA 3XA. And anyway, I just sent him a whole bunch of images over many years from my career, various aspects of it. And he set that to the music of this song. And the song After Strange Gods, I recorded, I think it was about 92 or 93, at a place called Look and Company. Very nice people. That was basically an advertising music services office with a studio where they produced a lot of music for commercials, mainly TV commercials, but they had a really good studio. And I was friends with the owner, Jean Look, and her guy, Mark Blatt, two fine people in New York here, and they let me come after hours. I don't think we started that track till after midnight one day, and I had Jonathan Cain on drums, great drummer who was a mainstay in Gods and Monsters for many years. And I had Ernie Brooks, also the same, a mainstay and still with us, playing bass. I overdubbed a few other people later on, Greg Bendian on percussion, and the vocalist was the great Dina Emerson, who was singing with Gods and Monsters for a while, for a year or so, and then went off to join Cirque du Soleil, I believe, and moved to Vegas. I hope she's doing well, but that's her voice on the track. And it came out very well. Oh yeah, Anthony Cain, Jonathan's brother, is playing harp on the studio recording of this song, and I thought it came out very well. It was issued on my second Gods and Monsters album, Bad Boys of the Arctic, which came out around 94. So anyway, that is on segue into commercial here. This new album about to drop, as they say. I don't know where that came from, that expression, but anyway. It's about to drop January 29th on Knitting Factory. The Essential Gary Lucas double album, double CD, with a beautiful package designed by Steve Byram, an award-winning guy, friend of mine, graphic designer, really brilliant, with lots of goodies and rare tracks on it. I've talked about it aplenty, and I will continue to, but you can pre-order it. I think the link is pretty accessible around this posting I'm making, and it'll be online. But anyway, I was really happy to see a very nice review in The Wire magazine, one of the best of music magazines in the world, certainly based in the UK, who've been very supportive of my work over many years, and going as far back as my first solo album. And that was just great to see. And I can't wait to go back and play, for you guys anywhere in the world. But certainly it'd be nice to be in England. I was scheduled to do a record release party for this album around May 1st, before the pandemic hit. And it was at a club in London called the Troubadour, which has a long history. And my friend Ruben Miles Ty, who's been doing bookings for me for a few years in the UK, had all lined up, but they had to close. And who knows when things are going to return to semi-normal. But, I mean, I had some good news today, which is in New York State, where I'm situated here, gazing out at New Jersey and the Hudson River, but here it's the West Village. New York State, they've just announced that they're going to start distributing the Moderna vaccine to people over 65. And I would be a liar to tell you I was younger than that age, although, some people very kindly say, oh, you look, much younger than me. That may be, but nevertheless, I am beyond 65, but not that much. In any case, though, until this moment, I wasn't able to get vaccinated, but now I can join the queue of what would probably be hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of New Yorkers who are trying to get this vaccine in their arm. So I did fill out a form this morning with, who was it? Oh, I don't know, various clinics around here, and it was basically, they give you numbers on the website that you call, and they say, we're not doing it yet, we'll let you know. Don't call us, we'll call you. But one of them did say, okay, we've got you now in the database, and you'll be contacted within 48 to 72 hours, so that would be nice. Because I have a whole bunch of things I want to do, particularly in Europe, but we'll see what the situation is there. I was lucky and fortunate enough to get over to Holland, as you may know, and right before Halloween, and was there for 3 weeks, which was lovely. And that's on the agenda, for sure, but plenty of other countries and cities and situations. So we'll see. I'm optimistic. The sun is shining, and even though Trump maintains his fiction that he had nothing to do with this riot, this insurrection, this failed coup, his fingerprints are all over it, obviously, as are his henchmen, enablers. I don't have to name any names. I mean, you know who they are. And soon it will all be over. We hope it will all be over, but, we're preparing for more, I hate to say this, but more violence. But so that's why everybody please try and stay calm and safe and not lose your cool and wear that mask. What else can I say here to further the conversation? Now, one thing I do have to do when I venture out soon is to get a new set of strings to put on this old baby. My 1946 J485, because it's reached the point with the way I like to set it up that the strings that are presently on it are not going gentle into that good night here, let us say, or maybe they are too quickly. It's the heat death of the universe situation. What happens is I'll put them on and they just sound too bright for a couple of weeks, basically. You know, that bright guitar sound. I'm not a fan when it's too really bright, certainly with acoustic guitar. And then they start to lose their luster, as they say, and they're kind of the tintinnabulation of the strings become a bit more on the mellow, dark side, and that's my favorite. That's the sweet spot that I like to engage with here on this guitar. But then they start to bend and not hold their tunings, despite my best efforts. I've had new tuning pegs put on this thing. Sacrilege, I know. It's a 1946 Gibson that says on the headstock, only a Gibson is good enough. How presumptuous. I like them because they always sounded the bluesiest when I was a boy. Whenever someone would have an old Gibson acoustic, there was something that just I didn't find in other guitars of the era, without naming any names, because, I might want to get an endorsement one of these days from somebody else. The Gibson were pretty nice to me. In fact, there's a clip of me jamming with the then CEO of Gibson on YouTube. Just plug in Gary Lucas, Gibson, MSNBC. No, it was CNBC. It was a Morning Joe show. One of those really early shows. That was a good one. I mean, that guy was under fire at that point because Gibson apparently was poaching on timber, particularly of the rosewood variety that comprised the necks of a lot of their guitars, to make their guitars. Even though they're being made domestically, that was not good. So he went on to argue the case that really they were not doing that and they were providing jobs for people. I know that a right-wing Republican senator was also on the guest of that show who gave me his card and told me to contact him, but I never did follow up on that. I didn't think that was a good path to go down, sorry. And anyway, you can see me playing and with this thing. And, this is from the 46, and it's still my favorite guitar. love that last chord. This is the Lucas chord. I couldn't tell you what it is. Yeah. Almost like the vertigo chord, right? The major, minor, seventh chord. I did a little discursive essay about the connection between much of Bernard Herrmann's film scores and this particular chord. A couple episodes back, and I posted it in a few places. So if you're interested to see about the connection between Herrmann and Wagner, vis-a-vis film music and Richard Wagner's leitmotifs, particularly his leitmotif for the Valkyrie, Die Valkyrie in Act 2, when Brunhilde ascends on the battlefield along with her cohorts to fly away in their arms many dead soldiers who've fallen. Listen. Hi-to-ho. I can't do it, but you know what, you get the drift. This is the same chord, essentially. And Herrmann plays it and picks it over, does all sorts of nice things with it throughout that score. It is one of my favorite scores, Vertigo. I definitely am fond of that film. But this is not exactly that chord, but it could be, it's a bittersweet with a chord with a tension between a resolution and a dissonance, just slightly. And to me, it's like that's life. That's basically it. It's like walking that knife edge between serenity and paranoia, perhaps. Although, as Don Van Vliet, the great Captain Beefheart, once observed, a little paranoia is a good propeller, right? Just because they tell you that things aren't true, they might be true. But I guess that same philosophy extended ad infinitum might lead to something like QAnon. So you gotta really, you have to really be careful about what you take in your analysis, in the final analysis, right? Like garbage in, garbage out. So I suggest trying to read a variety of opinions if you're interested in keeping abreast of the situation, and synthesizing your own worldview out of it, because the stuff, sometimes violently contradicts the other stuff that you read, and so you want to find a middle ground, or at least a resonance within that would lead you to believe that your opinion was valid or correct. But just keep your lamps trimmed and burning. Man. A book that I can't recommend enough, I'm going to recommend it again, is Reed Mittenbuhler's Wild Minds. All I have is the cover here, but you can imagine a hardback tome in the center of it. And this is a history of early pioneers of American animation. And it dwells a little bit on some European animation, such as Georges Méliès, which is excellent too. But I'm talking about mainly drawn cartoon animations brought to life. And it's a fascinating story. And to anybody who ever enjoyed Popeye or Betty Boop or the early Disney or Winsor McKay, Dream of the Rarebit Fiend, and Little Nemo in Slumberland. There's so many classic animators and animation geniuses of the early 20th century, up to Warner Brothers and people such as Chuck Jones and Tex Avery. It's all in this book, and it's really well written and engaging, and it doesn't load you down with a lot of technical trivia, which I find many of the books under discussion sometimes laden themselves a little bit too much with, but they're out there too, those kind of books. This is a good overview, so I'll recommend it. And I want to thank, again, Mark Green. What a guy. This guy comes forward with some sort of tip acknowledgement of my work here every time I play. So you're a gem. What can I say? I got to send you a nice gift in the mail or something. John Alderman, also, thank you from last time for your generosity. And Here's that chord. Here's another one of my favorite chords now. Good one, eh? I wrote a piece of music that begins with that chord and gave it to a French band I was working with around 2000, 1999, 2000, called Tangier, which means Tangier. It's like the French word for Tangier in Morocco. These were young French kids, very much enamored of Moroccan culture, among other exotic, to us, exotic forms of music. I met some amazing Gnawa players in the House of Gnawa there in Tangier, doing pre-production with them. And this is a tribe of Moroccan herdsmen who have some fantastic musical skills associated with various instruments that they've made themselves. Anyway, you should check that out. I don't know if you can get this album easily anymore, but the name of the album is Le Détroit, which means the border, spelled like Detroit, Le Détroit. And the group is Tanger, Tanger. But anyway, so I brought some music for them. And there's a song that we did called A Toi la Sol, which is really great. If I do say so myself, not because the chords and the riffs I gave them were so great, but the overall achievement was something. We all felt pretty good about hearing the playbacks. And as there was a pretty big budget for this record, we got to record and overdub a string section at Olympic Studios in Barnes, outside the capital of London. Not too far, actually, from where Mark Bolan crashed and burned in his Rolls Royce. That tree was standing there covered with notes, as it always is, love letters to Mark, and, undying love pledges. And to be in Olympic Studios, which was, the scene of a lot of great music recording that I'm sure you all know of, but for instance, a lot of the Rolling Stones' great, psychedelic efforts were done at Olympic, and that was something else. So, and the guy that we had as the string arranger was an amazing character who had worked for Immediate Records under Andrew Loog Oldham, my old friend. Andrew had the first significant independent label in the UK and had impeccable taste and signed many, many great artists such as The Small Faces and The Nice, etc., etc. Anyway, we had David Whittaker, who's no longer with us, to arrange strings on this session. And, we gave him suggestions as to sort of the sounds that we wanted to hear on this track, including, make it sound a little bit like Gil Evans' Sketches of Spain, do this, do that. And he really pulled a rabbit out of the hat. He did a fantastic arrangement of this orchestra he put together. And I was there, I just couldn't believe my fortune and my good luck to be sitting behind the glass hearing the song and music of which I'd composed instrumentally come to life. And these chords played, including this one, which is how the song also ends, in the sort of unresolved tension chord with a lot of dissonance in it. And some of the string players seemed to make a face. I wanted to know if I had to check their voicings to make sure they were hitting the right notes. But it came together, and maybe I'll try and post it if they don't. A lot of times now, these days, robo-police are pulling down my postings. Like I'm violating a copyright, even my own music. I'm violating Gary Lucas's copyright. It's annoying, to say the least. Instagram is the worst on this so far. But I'll try and post the song because it's really good. All right, so I'm going to play that instrumental. That's basically it. Now, I had an earlier version of this I did with Richard Barone, who titled it "Who Breaks a Butterfly on a Wheel," which is the famous editorial protesting the Mick Jagger and Keith Richards' incarceration and their drug busts, written by William Rees-Mogg, I think, for the Times, one of the major newspapers in London. Now, his son, Jacob Rees-Mogg, is this kind of heinous Tory politician right now. I won't really go into that. But William Rees-Mogg stepped up to the plate and wrote this, which is a quote from Oscar Wilde: "Who breaks a butterfly on a wheel?" Like, these people, do they really represent an existential threat to the youth of America, these filthy Rolling Stones, of which you wouldn't want your daughter to marry one of them? No. And anyway, they got off, as you know the story. But now it's called À toi le seul. Anyway, let's seek it out. Okay, that's it for today. I hear some chatter coming in the other room from Caroline, and I have to go right now. But I want to thank also, while I'm here, Corne Evers, my old friend from the Netherlands, who did a very lengthy interview with me today. I don't know where he's going to run this, but it was delightful speaking with him, and I haven't seen him in many, many years. And I'm so happy you guys all tuned in. I love playing for you, as you know. And I'll be here Thursday again and Saturday at the same time. And let's look over the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day. Yes. Well, anyway, don't forget, wear that mask and keep your lamps trimmed and burning. Love you guys. See you soon.